What's up guys, it's Zane again, and if you watched my other video on counter-economics, you may remember I mentioned an article from the Center for a Stateless Society about the concept of white market counter-economics. Today I want to dive into that concept a little deeper and talk about what is white market counter-economics, does white market counter-economics exist, and if it does exist, how can we implement it into our daily life? To quote Konkin, the counter-economy is the sum of all non-aggressive human action which is forbidden by the state. Counter-economics is the study of the counter-economy and its practices. The counter-economy includes the free market, the black market, the underground economy, all acts of civil and social disobedience, all acts of forbidden association, sexual, racial, cross-religious, and anything else the state at any place or time chooses to prohibit, control, regulate, tax, or tariff. The counter-economy excludes all state-approved action, the white market, and the red market, violence and theft not approved by the state. Therefore, off of this working definition, the concept of white market counter-econ sounds completely ludicrous, as counter-economics is specifically defined by actions that are deemed illegal by the state. However, we can go further by going into Konkin's distinction of the vertical and horizontal counter-economy. Horizontal growth of the counter-economy entails more individuals acting counter-economically in the strict sense. Vertical growth entails more structures, businesses, etc. growing that help support the counter-economic activities. Take, for example, you own a company that sells 3D printers. This then allows people to use those 3D printers to act more counter-economically in the horizontal sense. You have created a vertical counter-economic structure, even if the company is entirely above board. Or, take for another example, you're a lawyer who starts a firm who defends state-defined criminals, such as drug users and the like, from criminal prosecution. In a sense, you are propagating the horizontal counter-economy, so, in a sense, you have created a vertical counter-economic structure. This also does not exclude the vertical structures from acting counter-economically in the horizontal sense either. Take, for example, again, you sell 3D printers and you net $10,000 per year from sale of these 3D printers. But you cook your books and reduce your tax burden down to only that of paying taxes on $5,000. Your vertical white market business has acted counter-economically in the horizontal sense. So the horizontal and vertical counter-economies support each other even if the vertical structures are not strictly counter-economical. But this too does not entirely encompass what I envision when I speak of white market counter-economics. I envision more broadly the use of white market activities in an explicitly decentralized manner. Again, decentralization is the goal of the libertarian and the counter-economist. Do not misjudge here that I am supporting some abstract, atomized individualism here, or that I hold that all centralized firm structures should be diminished. What I am saying, however, is that there are many intertwined power structures in the white market that ultimately lead back to the state's power. However, there are white market means of avoiding these. Take, for example, farmers markets that are entirely above board. All taxes are paid, all licenses have been acquired, and all transactions are filed. How can this possibly be counter-economic? They are neither participating in the counter-economy directly, horizontal counter-economics, nor are they providing a good or service that would expand or support the counter-economy, vertical counter-economics. And my answer is decentralization. Even in our white market transactions, because we cannot act counter-economically in all times and all manners, we should strive to take the most decentralized options available to us. Now, why is this? Well, as principled libertarians and counter-economists, we should realize that our purchases from these big businesses that utilize the government's initiation of force to maintain their platitude over society only further to solidify their control and make the attainment of our ends even harder. So if counter-economics is our means, or at least one of them, then acting within the white market in a decentralized manner to further achieve our ends should have some place in our notion of counter-economics. Now I'm going to give some examples to further outline this concept so you might understand better what I mean. Take, for example, the existence of cryptocurrency. It is completely legal in white market to buy, sell, trade, and use cryptocurrency, yet it is widely touted by agorists as an example of counter-economics. Why is that? Because even if it's entirely legal, its very existence threatens the state's power over our monetary system. Now, obviously there are other reasons, such as some coins being untraceable, making them perfect tools for gray and black market transactions. However, it is of my opinion that that is not the main reason. Another example would be growing a home garden. Growing a home garden is perfectly legal, in most cases anyhow, yet I would still consider it to be a form of counter-economics in the broad sense. Because it is just a decentralized means of achieving your goods without using the state's force. The more plants I grow, the less I buy from the store. That's less revenue for these centralized businesses, less taxable income for them, and ultimately a lower market share. Now you may say, your one home garden isn't going to do anything. And to that I say, so what? How many people does it take? Let's say it took 100 home gardens to meaningfully lower Walmart's market share. Although I'm only one person, I don't know how many other people are growing home gardens already. What if I were the 100th person? Or the 150th? It doesn't matter. Ultimately, our effects add up to a sum total in the counter economy in the fight against force and centralization. Let's take the home garden example further. Say I grow lots of crops and I give them away to my friends and family. That's less of their money spent at these big stores, less income from the corporations, etc., etc. You've heard the spiel already. Or I could even sell these crops and not report the income, gray market. And now my white market adventure has a strictly gray market element to it. This is why we should support our localities with things like farmers markets, local markets, Etsy shops, etc. These decentralized entities are in a sense a fight against state power. I would also like to add that these small businesses are much more likely to have their incomes go unreported to the state, so in an indirect sense, they could be strictly counter-economic as well. Another thing to think about is a free market alternative, quote unquote, to government solutions to issues. Obviously, when I say free market, I'm speaking loosely here. But, for example, if we oppose government intervention to prevent climate change, then we, as individuals, should act in a way to help prevent and reduce climate change effects. Things like supporting businesses that plant trees, or are economic friendly, or recycling, whatever it may be. Even though strictly legal, this is in direct opposition to the state's force on the subject of climate change, so I would call it broadly counter-economic. I could give so many more examples of white market counter-economics, but I think you guys get the point. However, if you wanted another video explaining some more concepts of white market econ, for example, rainwater collecting, I can make an entire video dedicated to them. In conclusion, how would I define counter-economics? Well, I would still like to use Konkin's original definition. However, I would like to term this narrow counter-economics, as I think looking at counter-economics from this lens is still very useful and important, and you wouldn't want to blur the line so much that the concept of counter-economics seems almost trivial. However, I would like to add in a second term, broad counter-economics, and this I would define loosely as operating in our daily lives in a generally decentralized manner as a protest against the state's power. I really have been enjoying taking this deep dive into counter-economics, and there will definitely be more videos to come. Until then, I'll see you guys later.